Welcome everyone to our session on knowledge exchange in the DRI community. My name is Marian Weinziel. I am leading the Knowledge Exchange Fellowship work package at CAKE. And I will start by giving a brief overview about what CAKE is. So you might all be aware that the CAKE team is basically the core team organizing the HPC Days this year and already last year. And then we'll talk a bit about the fellowships and hear from our current cohort of knowledge exchange fellows before we then have a discussion. So when we are doing those talks, we will not have a Q&A after each of the talks, but then a joint Q&A after all three talks, which then hopefully leads more or less naturally into a general discussion about knowledge exchange. Just a couple of words about CAKE. So some of you might already have heard what we are doing, so I apologize if you're getting bored by always similar slides. The CAKE project is the Computational Abilities Knowledge Exchange project, and we hope to be kind of a hub for knowledge exchange in the DRI community. We are doing various outreach activities. We maybe going to the next slide. So we do have a website, we do have a knowledge base called Cakebox. We have like a calendar where you can add events, you can showcase your DRI project. We have stalls at conferences and workshops where the DRI projects can give us their material to showcase it. So we will be at ISC next week as well. We have a placements and visits scheme where in our flexible funds where people can apply for money for knowledge exchange placements and visits and also other things. So we're not like very, very strict. So if you have an idea and are not quite sure whether it fits, just come to us and discuss it. We have just opened our call for retreats. We will do some more advertising about that probably over the next few weeks. We just wanted to get like HPC Days and ISC out of the way first. And we have the fellowships. So what have we done so far? So because we've kept talking about what we are doing or going to do so far, we have 3 knowledge exchange fellows in our first cohort. We have just selected 6 new fellows, and I will show you later who these 6 are. And the call for the third cohort is going to open in October. For the placements and visits, we have 5 activities that we funded so far. And we also published some guidance in Cakebox talking about how to conduct a good placement, how to also do a virtual placement, because that's our idea around, okay, not everybody is able to actually go somewhere for a couple of weeks and be away from family or the home or whatever might be basically more important than maybe work or placements or so. So we have published some guidance around that as well. And as I said, the call for retreats is also open. And I think Nick and Tobias are currently having some discussions around potential Excalibur retreat. We'll see where that goes and when that will happen. In terms of conference and workshops, you might have seen us with our stall, which we put up in the registration area. So this kind of stall is going also on various conferences. So we'll be at ISC, we'll be at RSECon, we'll be at Supercomputing and various other places. You might have spotted the typo on one of the big banners that were just printed. Big. And we have all kinds of like talks and workshops and panels, and so that we are also doing around various knowledge exchange topics. We have, there's just a list of a couple of things that we've done, and we're doing the HPC Days. In terms of what we had been setting out to do about infrastructure and happen, so we have a website, we have the Cakebox, we have the schedule. So there are a couple of links here. But we also have various other things that have been developed that we had not originally said we are doing. So we're really working on having a good overview of both the funding opportunities and the DRI landscape. And we do have forms on our website where you can submit any events that you might have, or a DRI project which is not yet on that website, and so on. And if you're not sure, just drop us an email or drop us a message on Slack. And we do have social media, so you might have seen us posting the whole week about what's been happening here. We have an EDI working group in collaboration with COSEC, which Eleanor's leading, where we have discussions, and you will hear about that tomorrow in the EDI session, I think just after lunch, is that right? Yes, please come along to that. And then we've got just new, the sprinkles of knowledge. That's something that Eleanor and Eva have been doing, and I think it looks really cool. So I think their idea was that we will, people might have experiences or some like best practices or so, but it's not enough to really write a whole blog post or a whole guide or so that they want to put somewhere. So you can go onto our Cakebox website to the Sprinkles of Knowledge, and there will be a form. I think there are like 4 topics at the moment, like collaboration tools and workflows, EDI, and I don't know what the 4th one is. And then it will create such a sticky note, which will appear on the website, where just like your idea or your tip also can appear on that website. And we will look at that, and then maybe at some point say like, oh, this is really cool, and these things actually fit together, and so we might write a guide about that, or we might organize something around that, or so, or just see where that goes. So as I said, if you have any ideas or questions or suggestions, these are the co-Is of Cake. So it's Nick, Eleanor, myself, and Tobias, and I just put some stuff there basically as a rough guide about, okay, if you have a question about placements and visits, ask Eleanor. But basically you can ask any of us anything. It's just that we have our work packages that we know most about. If you're interested or just not quite there that you've got your own project or so, but want to get more involved, we've got an email list, we've got a Slack, there's the Cakebox. Both the Cakebox and our website is open source, so you can submit pull requests as well. And that on the bottom there is our email address if you want to email us. Knowledge Exchange Fellowships. So what are our fellowships exactly about? So we set out and said like, oh, we will have 25 fellows. We'll see how that goes. We will have a call every 6 months. They will get £4,000 each for 1 year. And it's all like at 80% for economic costs, unfortunately. And they will select the sub-community of the DRI space and do knowledge exchange or facilitate knowledge exchange in there. We would very much like them to get involved with Cake further, and also after the end of the fellowship, maybe join some of the organizing team, or like bring forward one idea that they might have. And we hope that they really act as ambassadors for knowledge exchange in the DRI space. 9 are selected, so there are 60 more to go in the next 2 years. We always need reviewers, so we also have a call for reviewers on our website. So please consider reviewing a couple of fellowships, or maybe also in the other categories like the placements and so. This is our second call of knowledge exchange fellows. We have some people here, like Connor, for example. Do we have anyone else in this room? No, I've seen Mashi. as well around. I was going to have it all on the website already. Unfortunately, I'm still missing two photos and descriptions, but you can see the range of ideas and sub-communities that they have, and also that we're like going from like a very RSE type projects to more like academic projects and knowledge exchange between students and DRTPs and so I'm very excited to hear more and to see how these new fellowships will develop over the next year. But now I would like to hand over to our current fellows who are at this point halfway through their fellowship and will tell us a bit about what they are up to. And
thank you. My name is Lewis Sampson. I'm one of the first members of the CAPE Fellowship, the first cohort. My fellowship is focused around Kubernetes and in the DRI community. Go to the next page. So just a little bit of an introduction for who I am. So I come from UKRI. I work in a team called Daphne. I started as years ago I was doing Fortran programming, and now I've sort of switched over to doing platform infrastructure. So when I joined Daphne, I had a big change in sort of learning new materials, and I kind of like the sort of knowledge that I gained from my sort of colleagues was sort of what encouraged me to do more knowledge exchange in general. So that was over 3 years ago, and now I'm a lot more responsible for various levels of the platform infrastructure for Daphne, from like the actual physical hardware up to like deploying our APIs. And then Kubernetes is a humongous chunk of this work. So that's where like a lot of my skills that I've worked up in the past 3 years have been focused on. So as I said, my motivation for sort of joining the fellowship was around the fact that I gained a lot of first-hand knowledge from speaking with people through collaboration, through communities, through going to sort of different conferences and picking up skills. And I was kind of keen to sort of like give back in a way to that kind of community. I also noticed from going to industry conferences and some academic conferences, there wasn't a lot of talk around Kubernetes, at least from what I had seen. And so I kind of saw this as an area that could like do with a bit of improvement. Like Kubernetes is very, very popular in industry, but it's not so popular in like the academic community. So I figured that there was at least getting like a basic introduction to people to the community for this industry standard tool was like a really good practice. Backtracking a little bit, sorry, I got myself confused. So my previous experience with knowledge exchange before the fellowship, when I was learning to code with to use Kubernetes and this inherited infrastructure, the scientific computing department, I set up a collaboration group. And again, it was a situation with loads of people doing similar work but not communicating with each other. So sort of looping everybody together, just having conversations rather than trying to reinvent the wheel. So this was just like an informal catch up that we had. From that, I ended up sort of expanding it. So it ended up being SDFC wide, and we did some work with the Rosalind Franklin Institute. We ended up eventually setting up a cloud native significant interest group, which we started sort of middle of last year, and we ran our first workshop at RSECon 2025. So if anyone was there, we ran a Kubernetes workshop on web applications. But this was all under SSI fellowship funding. But during that at RSE conference, I saw about the CAPE stand and then saw about the CAPE fellowships, and sort of that seemed like the logical next step was to see if I could use the DRI community sort of expand this knowledge exchange effort. So what is the fellowship that I'm doing? So the title is Basic Introductions for the DRI Community to the Benefits and Processes of Kubernetes. And I think that kind of encapsulates, what I've already mentioned, but it's the idea of introducing this tool to a community that is currently not so familiar with it. Just kind of getting a basic understanding of what it is, to not be afraid with it, to be like happy to go and play around with it. Our first workshop that we ran is all web-based. You can run it on your own laptop. The one we did yesterday, which I'll talk a little bit about, is Raspberry Pi based, which was an interesting challenge trying to get that to work as well. My plan is to sort of share knowledge and best practices, use sort of practical workshops, so actually getting people like hands-on with the tool. So again, to sort of bridge that gap of being unsure of what it is. Like if you have a production level Kubernetes cluster, it might be quite daunting to go around and play with it. But if you know you can set one up and experiment, then you're more likely to enjoy it. And then, yeah, I want to try to use this industry standard tool to introduce it to academia research, because I think there are certain situations where it's very beneficial. So the progress so far, I mentioned some of this already. So at RSCon last year, the Cloud Native SIG, we ran the web deployment Kubernetes workshop. Piper and I reran it at STFC earlier this year. And sort of from that, we've learned some lessons. And one of the difficulties was getting people to be able to install stuff on their local laptop was difficult. So we designed a brand new tutorial, which we ran yesterday. So sorry if you missed it. But there is a GitHub pages, so you can go and look at it. You can follow along at home. You just won't have the Raspberry Pi, but you can look at the slides and the information, and the web deployment one you can run yourself. So yeah, all of these workshop resources, we prepare them to be followed along at home and online at your own pace, as well as being done as practical workshops like in person. So my next steps is to refine what we did yesterday. So there was a fair few teething issues, which is always the case, to look to rerun this at a conference later on in the year. We again submitted the same web deployment workshop to RSCon, and it got accepted. So we'll be rerunning that as part of the Cloud Native SIG, but also with support from the Cake Fellowship. I plan to sort of try to also go to industry conferences to pick up, to like improve my personal skills on Kubernetes, so that I can then sort of feed that into the DRI community. And something that I'm trying to do more of is be involved in sort of like public engagement with like LinkedIn and blog posts. So I will try to be writing up something following this conference as well. So I've got a big page of links. I hope we can share slides afterwards, maybe. Otherwise, I think a fair few of these links, Marion has already said. So for like the Cake, Cake website is on there, and the Cake LinkedIn. But I also have mine and Daphne one, where we also publish bits and pieces around the things that are going on. And then there is also a Cloud Native SIG mailing list. So if you're involved, please feel free to either reach out just straight to me, and I can just have conversations around Kubernetes stuff, or follow the other pages for like announcements of events, things like that. And then I wanted to follow, end on something that's maybe a bit like theoretical, but we're all pretty familiar with what the term Ubuntu, but its actual meaning is very sort of founded on community and collaboration. And I think the bottom phrase of like, I am what I am because of who we all are, is very much how I kind of got drawn into doing the knowledge exchange aspect of stuff. And that's all for me.
Hi everyone, I'm Joe Warwick. I'm from the Institute of Competitive Climate Science in Cambridge. And my Cake Fellowship is all about knowledge exchange for Fortran. So we had the Fortran community meetup yesterday, where we were reflecting on the fact that Fortran is approaching 70 years old now. And sort of it has this bit of a reputational issue. You know, a lot of people think that it's a dead language. We sort of believe that it certainly isn't. And I've got a couple of slides that show some of the community initiatives that are trying to drive that change of the sort of Fortran revival, as you might call it. And my part of that is called Fortran Index, which is all about trying to facilitate knowledge exchange within this community. So this is supported by my Cake Fellowship and also by my institution, ICCS. So just a bit of background on Fortran. So the first reference manual for Fortran was published by IBM in October 1956. And then the first compiler came out following April. So you can choose whichever of those you believe to be birthday, but it's roughly 70 years ago, later this year. And there's been Fortran standards on several occasions since then. So 1966, 1977, all the way through till 2023, that have sort of evolved the language. We've been in the modern Fortran era for a little while now. So maybe we're moving into postmodern Fortran, I don't know. But it continues to evolve. And remain relevant in lots of different sort of domains, climate science being one of them, the one that we work in ICCS. And then part of this sort of rejuvenation of the Fortran community started in 2021. So the Fortran Lang organization came about, which is focused on open source Fortran. So I'll come shortly to the Fortran Lang webpage, which is a sort of a place that you can go for all Fortran related information, training materials. Fortran Lang also develops something called FPM, which is the Fortran package manager, which is package manager for Fortran. But you can compile other things as well, but it's written in Fortran, which is kind of one of the quirks. And it does compile with Fortran very nicely. And then, so my part in this is leading Fortran Index, which is a series of hackathons, which started out of a meeting a couple of years ago, Back to the Fortran Future, which is a satellite event for RSECon, where we sort of identified that a particular part of the Fortran Lang webpage has a lot of potential, but has a few issues. So I'll come to that on the next slide. And my CAPE fellowship is supporting this work with Fortran Index. So Fortran Lang is a very findable website with loads and loads of information in there. So if you go on the Wikipedia page for Fortran, this is where it sends you. It's kind of the web page for Fortran. And it's got loads of training material. It's got links to all the different sort of platforms and forums and things like this. There's blog posts and news on the right side. And then at the top, there's a bar that can take you to various different things. One of which is the package index. So there's a screenshot of it there on the right-hand side. So you can basically, it's got this big index of all these different packages that are either written in Fortran or they're designed for Fortran, so like linters and things like that, or test frameworks that aren't necessarily written in Fortran. And you can sort of go there and find out about these and find some higher level information. You know, what's the license? How well uses this package? Where can I find it? And this can be really useful, but when we started the project, this search box didn't work at all. You couldn't filter any of this. None of these tags worked. And so basically you just had to keep scrolling until you found the thing that you wanted, which isn't ideal when it's just an alphabetical list. So we've been doing work on trying to improve this basically, which has been interesting because Fortran Lang is this really useful resource that's developed by Fortran programmers, not web developers. And most of the people that are involved in this, because they have an interest in Fortran, are also not with loads of web development experience. So we've been trying to reach out through my CAPE fellowship and attendance at collaborations workshop the other month, trying to reach out to the web development community as well and get some input on the site, which has been really useful. And basically what Fortran Index is a hackathon series where every couple of months, a group of us meet up online for a couple of hours or 3 hours and spend an afternoon trying to improve this, but then also other things as well. So other things related to the webpage and also trying to reach out to other communities as well. So we did a collaborative hackathon with the Reasonable Performance Computing SIG as well to contribute some Fortran optimization patterns to their website. So there's a website's linked down there at the bottom, Fortran Index, github.io. You can find out a bit more information, including the upcoming events, and links to some of the things that we've been doing. So the CAPE Fellowship is supporting these virtual hackathons. I mean, they don't really require any money because it's just an online meeting. It's just our time, really. But I'm getting support in terms of advice on how to run this and how to promote it, and also promotion through the CAPE channels, which has been really beneficial for bringing new people in. It's also funded my travel to, I just mentioned before, the Collaborations Workshop in Belfast. There was a satellite event called Back to the Fortran Future 3. So both of these were really useful for trying to bring more people in to work on Fortran Index and sort of continue improving knowledge exchange in the Fortran community. So one of the other things that was in my proposal was to fund the first official in-person hackathon, which I do still intend to do. I think it's going to be later in the year, and I'll come to that in a second. But the other thing that wasn't in my proposal, as soon as I'd submitted it, I realised that I missed an opportunity, is that it's CAPE and Fortran's turning 70, and so we need to have a birthday party. And so I'm going to host an event called Celebrating, well, there's a typo there, so it should be Celebrating 70 Years of Fortran. An extra off there for some reason. So I'm going to spend the rest of this talk about that. And this is why we've got these little birthday cakes in the corner as well. So we've now managed to confirm a venue, which is really nice. So it's going to be at the Science and Industry Museum in Manchester, which, as it turns out, is where the first RSECon was held as well. It's going to be on the 1st of December, sort of later in the day, because whilst it's sort of geared towards being an in-person event, we'd like to also allow for people in the US that we know that are quite sort of key in the Fortran community to be able to join online. And the reason for the date, this is sort of in between the two things you might consider to be Fortran's birthday. And the reason for the date is that TI UK is sort of down the road about 10 minutes for the rest of the week following this. So this is on the Tuesday, and this is TI UK Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So we sort of chose this date to align with that, and hopefully, people might be interested in attending both of these events. And that's the picture there is one that I took when I visited the museum recently. It's called the Baby. It's an experimental computer from the 1940s. There's some volunteers there a couple of times a week you can go and chat to about it, and they demonstrate the computer. And I asked them about it. Unfortunately, no one ever ran any Fortran on it. It was a little bit too early. But they're still very happy to chat about anything to do with computing history. So this image here is courtesy from the website for CA UK. I'm sure everyone here is aware of CA UK, but it's quite a big conference by now, attracted over 800 attendees, and covers all different aspects of HPC. So we feel that this is quite good to align with. So in terms of our event, this is the draft program right now. It's one of the things in the Fortran community meetup yesterday was us trying to get people's input on thoughts on what we could do with this. So this is just kind of my current idea. But in the morning we'll have some small group activities. So one of those will be this in-person Fortran Index hackathon that I mentioned. But the second one is just an idea. So there's this Fortran specialist group which moved over from the British Computing Society to Society of RSE recently. And potentially we could have a small meeting. So those are just small group meetings. The main event, which we're hoping to attract between 100 and 150 people, hopefully, will be a workshop between 3 and 6:15 in the sort of conference suite above the museum. And then after that, we're going to have a drinks reception, which both of these two things I'll show in the next two slides. So the workshop program is, of course, formulated as a Fortran program. You can find this on the website, and you probably can't read any of that text because it's quite small, but the idea is that we will start out by reflecting on the past 70 years. So there'll be a keynote who will sort of do a retrospective of like how far we've come in the last 70 years, what have been the challenges, what can we learn from, and sort of inspire people to see how far Fortran has come in that time. There'll be things in the present, so a set of lightning talks on exciting developments people are working on right now for the language and for the sort of infrastructure. Some more lightning talks on community initiatives, and there'll be, in fact, there's a break in between those two that isn't in the program for cake, of course. There'll be some cake. And then finally, we wanted to have a sort of allow anyone that's come along to this event, they might just use Fortran a little bit, they might be new to the community, or they might be very established, and allow everyone to have input on what's the next 70 years going to be like. So try to take a forward view and take people's input on that. And then after that, there is the reception, which is, it's been missed off. I thought there was a slide on reception. It's going to be basically in front of the baby computer there in the evening, effectively. So I don't have a full registration form just yet because we've only just confirmed the venue, but there's a link here if you would like to register your interest. So basically, it's a very short form. You just put your name, your institution, your email address, and I will send you an email once the full registration opens, but it helps to just sort of save the date. And I think that's everything I was going to say. Yeah, thank you.